It's Thursday, May 7th, and here are your latest updates. The UAE Ministry of Defense has launched a specialized AI training program for armed forces focused on advanced digital solutions to boost technical skills and operational efficiency. Meanwhile, Emirates has secured its position as the world's most profitable airline for the second year running, reporting over $6 billion in profit and $35.7 billion in revenue. With more than 53 million passengers and 152 global destinations, it continues to set the benchmark for aviation excellence. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump says the war could be over quickly as Iran reviews a U.S. proposal. While Trump signaled progress in negotiations, Iran has downplayed reports of a near agreement, stating it has yet to respond through Pakistani mediators. And finally, health authorities in Argentina are investigating the source of a deadly hantavirus outbreak linked to a cruise ship. For more updates,
1 week before Donald Trump visits China, Iran has beaten him to it. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is in Beijing, seeking support to secure a fair deal with the U.S. So it's worth asking, what role is Beijing playing? And could China emerge as a surprise winner out of this war? China, like most countries, is feeling the economic impact of the conflict and the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports. China is Iran's biggest oil buyer. It gets it at a discounted price too, which helps ease the impact of U.S. sanctions on Tehran. But that only makes up a small share of China's total imports, around 11%. Beijing is more reliant on Gulf Arab states. Roughly a third of China's oil comes from Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and most of it moves through the Strait of Hormuz. That route has been effectively shut for weeks, and despite China holding huge reserves and boosting imports from Brazil and Russia, it hasn't been enough to fully offset the disruption. So China's dealing with a real strain to its energy supply. But if you zoom out, the picture becomes more nuanced. China positions itself.
This is not the next COVID, but it is a serious infectious disease. You know, it's an infectious disease that if people get infected, and infections are uncommon, they can die. And so, again, people hearing this that are on the ship are, very rightly so, scared. And the general public might be scared as well. So early information, accurate information is critical, knowing what your actual exposure might be. And most people will never be exposed to this. But the Andes virus can have some human-to-human transmission. So for our point of view, from a public health perspective, this is what we are assuming. And we're trying to take the maximum level of precautions, balancing risk. And please let me just add that the risk to the general public is low. And I think we need to contextualize this because there's a lot of attention, and it's good that we're seeing attention, but we do want to put in context to what we mean for everyone saying, oh my gosh, is this the next one? I think people see me sometimes and they think, it's like the next COVID. And I really just want to assure people this is something that's quite different.
This morning, officials are racing to contain the deadly hantavirus outbreak that has killed 3 people. Several states, including Arizona, Georgia, and California, monitoring cruise ship passengers for possible infections. Teams in protective gear transporting 3 patients to emergency flights bound for Amsterdam. This as contact tracing has started on anyone who may have been exposed to sick patients earlier in the trip who disembarked at different locations. One such traveler was removed from a KLM flight in Johannesburg a day before her death. KLM saying due to the passenger's medical condition at the time, the crew decided not to allow the passenger to travel on the flight. 88 of those passengers from that flight now being tracked by the World Health Organization after possibly being exposed. And the WHO says a Swiss man who had returned home with his wife tested positive for hantavirus on Wednesday. He remains hospitalized. There are now 11 suspected cases of hantavirus infection from that ship, 5 testing positive.
로봇 행정은 합장한 채로 귀하겠습니다. 라고 대답하시길 바라겠습니다. 귀하겠습니다. 유용과 평안을 향한 참된 수행자로 나아가게.
가비 스님 환영합니다. 가비 스님 환영합니다.
US President Donald Trump has issued a fresh warning to Iran barely 24 hours after his top diplomat declared the war over.
A fresh threat of combat, but also optimism of a deal. Donald Trump has declared both today. So are we any closer to the end of the war? Well, behind the scenes, negotiators are talking. Tehran is now reviewing a US-backed proposal, which one Iranian official has labelled a list of American demands. The US president, though, is cautious but hopeful.
We've had very good talks over the last 24 hours, and it's very possible that we'll make a deal. We've had some good talks before, as you know, and all of a sudden the next day they're like, they forgot what happened.
Iran says it will convey its response to Pakistani mediators as the ceasefire between the two sides for now continues to hold, even as US forces today shot at an Iranian-flagged vessel attempting to sail to an Iranian port. And while there is now that hope that the two sides could be getting close to
We need to end this war. It is costing us billions of dollars a week. Surely there are more important things we could be spending money on.
Senate Republicans are working to secure $1 billion in taxpayer money for President Trump's White House ballroom, saying the money is for security enhancements.
Not the f***ing ballroom again. People didn't even want the ballroom when he was building it for free. Now Trump's like, okay, I hear you, but what if it cost $1 billion? And if this ballroom story is making you sick, don't worry. It can also make you literally sick.
Health concerns growing from President Trump's ballroom project. A new report showing soil taken from the White House construction project has tested positive for toxic chemicals.
So that soil was dumped near one of the 3 golf courses at East Potomac.
Oh my God. These poor golfers. First they can't even clap normally, and now this? I can't believe I'm saying these words, but the toxic waste.
These are real warriors. When we talk about warriors, these are warriors.
President Trump called reporters into the Oval Office impromptu today to show off these renderings of the upcoming UFC fight at the White House.
And it's going to happen right in front of the White House. Here's a picture. I think a lot of people haven't seen this yet.
Flanked by UFC fighters, the president revealed new details about the fight.
And you know, in the park right across the street, they're going to have, I guess, anywhere from 75 to 100,000 people, free. They're going to set up 8 big screens, and they're going to have the fight. And then out here, we're going to have 4,000 seats right in front of the front door of the White House.
And showed off this championship belt.
Championship belt. Dana White was here last night. Did you know that he was here last night?
The fight, which is taking place on Trump's 80th birthday, is part of the America's 250th Independence Day celebrations. The president, who loves UFC.
I don't know how to quit. It's not in my genes.
Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1938, entrepreneur and philanthropist Ted Turner built a media empire that revolutionized cable television.
I thought it would be a big success, but I guess I couldn't have figured it would have been this big a success.
After becoming the head of his father's billboard company, Turner bought a struggling TV station in 1970 that he transformed into WTBS, the country's first superstation.
Programming, you know we've got the best of any independent station.
10 years later, he launched CNN, the world's first 24-hour news network.
We sign on June 1, and barring satellite problems in the future, we won't be signing off until the world ends.
Now here's the news.
6 years before I did it, I thought it would be really convenient whenever you got home to be able to tune into the news instead of having to get home at 6:30 or wait till 11 o'clock.
CNN's breakthrough moment came with the Gulf War.
She took us behind the scenes.
I'm on stage, baby! So this is, these are my marks. This is my front stage mark.
Showing us how all the merry magic happens.
Back here is a movie. Yeah. It's a movie because we have to go fast and sometimes things don't fit, or sometimes the outfit rip and they have to go get another one, and I'm panicking.
She says she feels right at home under the Vegas spotlight.
The next chapter is just enjoying the fruits of my labor. Like, this residency is the fruits. This is what I've worked for. This is what I've earned, and I'm here.
about 37 million iPhone owners are eligible for up to $95 in payment after Apple agreed to settle a $250 million class action lawsuit alleging the company misled customers about the AI capabilities of Siri. The lawsuit claimed Apple deceived customers by marketing enhanced Siri features that didn't exist, leading them to buy iPhones based on false advertising. Customers who bought any iPhone 16 model, iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max between June 10th, 2024 and March 29th, 2025 will receive $25 per device, which could end up meaning it could decrease or increase based on the factors. But ultimately, you could add up to $95. Those who are eligible will be notified by email or mail to file a claim, according to the court filing. The law firm which brought the case says a link to the settlement website will be available in a couple of weeks. And in a statement to ABC,
I don't know if you heard, but they closed the Strait of Hormuz. Do you know that? Okay, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed for business, but the White House says we're close to a deal. Where have I heard that before? The details of this supposed deal are still very much in flux, as in, what the flux are we doing over there? According to sources familiar with it, it would include a moratorium on uranium enrichment for a period of longer than 10 years, which would be only 5 years shorter than the 15-year deal Obama made that Trump called the worst deal in history. And now he's going to top it by making an even worse deal in history. It's called The Art of the Deal, folks. You should read the book. To keep the pressure on, he made another threat today. He said if they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be sadly at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Thank you for your attention to this matter. His list of threats is now longer than Kash Patel's bar tab. I wonder which will open first, the Strait.
President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama chose to build the center on Chicago's South Side, where they both began their lives in public service.
We've got a Chicago Public Library on site that's an actual library, not just some academic library. We've got community spaces for people to meet, recording studios for young people to come and talk about their lives and create art and music that can be inspiring.
The Obama's greatest hope was to create a place to educate the next generation and inspire a sense of belonging.
We've got that playground for kids to play in.
Hey! That was fantastic.
And a community garden following up on what Michelle did. And a basketball court and a gym, because I think sports are central to who we are. And an auditorium where public speakers will come in. And young people who are bringing about change in their.
The Trump administration boasts that it has obliterated Iran's military capabilities.
Iran has no air defenses. Their missile volume is down 90%.
But that's not exactly true. We've been analysing all the data available to us, from the official stats that Gulf states put out to various think tanks, to try to understand why Iran's campaign didn't stop and what the strike patterns show about its military capabilities and strategy. Let's take you through the key moments in the war. In the first couple days, Iran went all out, firing a huge number of missiles and drones at 7 countries simultaneously. Its proxies targeted more countries. Experts say this was likely a tactic of mass saturation to force the US to use up their air defense capabilities. The US significantly depleted its stockpile of key missiles during the war, according to multiple well-placed sources.